Welcome to the Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. I'm your host, Scott Friedman, and today we're going to talk about leadership because that it really helps the world go round. And I have to tell you, the most graphic understanding I have of leadership came in my very first full-time job. We'll say I had part-time jobs, but my full-time job. So I had this boss, and everyone was giving me all these condolences because this guy, like said, he screams at his subordinates and he's tough on them and he's mean and he's just, oh, we're sorry for you. So I go, oh my goodness. Well, okay, well, let's see what's going to happen here. So I go to my first meeting with him as a boss. Yeah, I met him when in the interview process. And he sits me down and he says, look, there are two things you got to do. If you do these two things, we're going to get along fine. If you don't do these two things, we're going to have massive problems. And I said, okay, what are the two things? He said, one, no surprises. I don't want any surprises. You keep me appraised of what's going on, right? No surprises. And the second one is get all your paperwork in on time. And I go, I can do that. I worked for that guy for almost 7 years, and we never had a problem because I did those two things. I mean, I kept them informed on what was going on, so there were no surprises, and I got all my paperwork in on time. And so we were fine. And I liked that. And so when I had employees, I took that lesson and I said, look, here are the rules, right? You do this, and you're fired. There's no coming back from it. There's no nothing. This is a red line. You do this and you're gone. And I had to make sure that I meant what I said, right? Because it doesn't work if you don't mean it, right? It has to be accurate. But I just made it like I took that lesson that and how comfortable I felt knowing what it was going to take for me to do well with that boss and translated it so that my employees had that same understanding of what it was going to take on their part to be okay with me as the boss. And it's just, just real clarity. You don't do people any favors by sugarcoating stuff that shouldn't be sugarcoated. If there's a bright line and you do this and there's no coming back and there's no forgiveness and there's no nothing, you're just gone. If that's the case, then they need to know that's the case. And so that's how what I think is it was the most uh, one of the most at least powerful uh, leaderships, and the others are more subtle in the respect that they're leading by example is more subtle than just that sharp, brazen, clear line of what needs to be done and what the consequences are of not doing that. So I think everything has its place, and I think that certainly being abundantly clear is important, but also I think example is very very important, and so it's important to be. And I mean, Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to make in the world." It's like be an example, right? Inspire people. I try to say that, I try to be, really honest about things and with myself and other people, and that inspires other people to do that too because they see, okay, that's that's working for him. I need to try that too. Plus, just internally, I know that not being honest is stressful. But anyway, that was the most definitive leadership example that I benefited from and my employees subsequently benefited from. And in addition to that, of course, there's the less sort of sharp, bright lines of example, more subtle, if you will, but nevertheless important. In any event, I offer coaching for business and individuals, and you can avail yourself of that by signing up for a free initial coaching session to check it out. It really is worth your while, and I strongly recommend it. Contact me at scottfriedman40@gmail.com. My books are available on Amazon, including The Art of the Ethical Deal, right? And it's unethical not to be straight with people, right? So it's like part of the ethical deal is being straight. And so my book, The Art of the Ethical Deal, is available on Amazon. You can find links to it on my website, www.thoughtcoachingbyscott.com. And it really is worth your while because, again, it gives inspiring examples of how being really honest and straight with people creates trust, creates repeat business, creates smooth transitions, and creates successful outcomes. And so I really highly recommend that book, The Art of the Ethical Deal. And you, like I say, you can get it on Amazon with links to it on my website. All right. Go out there and enjoy being you.